I just did something that probably makes me either the smartest guy in the room or the dumbest. I paid $1 million for a used Cat D9, not a brand new one straight from the factory with 0 hours and that fresh out of the crate smell. A used one, a machine that has spent years pushing rocks and dirt and who knows what else. And now I am standing here looking at this 100-ton beast, wondering if I just bought the deal of a lifetime or if I'm about to sink six figures into repairs before this thing even moves a yard of dirt. Let me rewind a bit and tell you how I ended up here. The heavy equipment market right now in 2026 is completely nuts. If you try to order a new D9 from Cat, you are looking at lead times that go out months, sometimes even a year. Contractors are desperate for iron. They need machines working yesterday, and when you cannot get new, you fight over used. So there I was in a live auction, watching the numbers climb, 20,000 at a time, 50,000, 100,000. The auctioneer is talking so fast you can barely keep up, and every time the bid jumps, your stomach drops a little. This is real money, real debt, real risk. Finally, I threw my hand up, the bid stuck, and the gavel hit. Just like that, I owned a machine I had never even touched. Winning the auction turned out to be the easy part. The hard part started when we got it to the yard. 100 tons of steel sitting on a lowboy trailer and my whole crew standing around waiting to tear into it. This is where you find out the truth. Everything before this was just show. Now we had to do a real inspection, a deep dive into what we actually bought. And we started with the undercarriage because that is where the real money hides. Cat will tell you straight up that the undercarriage can eat up half of your total owning and operating costs on a track machine. Half! So if I screw this up, if I misread the wear, I'm already losing money before the engine even turns over. We brought out ultrasonic thickness gauges and started measuring everything. Track links, rollers, idlers, sprockets. A D9 has a lot of parts, and every millimeter of wear matters. You have to know your remaining service life. If the undercarriage is at 50% worn, you have some breathing room. If it is at 70%, you're looking at a big bill coming soon. And when that bill comes, it is not small. A full set of tracks alone runs somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. Rollers run $1,200 to $2,500 each, and there are 8 per side. Add in idlers, sprockets, carrier rollers, and the labor to put it all together, and you're easily into six figures. That one piece of the machine can wipe out whatever savings you thought you were getting by buying used. But the undercarriage is just the start. We moved on to the blade and ripper, looking for stress cracks. These are the hidden problems that sneak up on you. A D9 spends its whole life pushing and prying and abusing whatever's in front of it. Over time, that stress finds weak spots. Maybe a weld that wasn't perfect. Maybe an area where the metal just got tired and cracks start showing up. If they're in the blade, you can fix them. If they're in the main frame, you have a real problem. Frame repairs on a machine this big are expensive, and if the frame is twisted, that machine may never track straight again no matter what you do. Then we got to the engine. This part always makes me nervous. We did a cold start, and let me explain why that matters. A warm engine will hide all kinds of issues. A cold engine tells you the truth. When we hit that start button, I was watching the exhaust like my life depended on it. Blue smoke means burning oil. White smoke means coolant getting into the cylinders. Black smoke means it's running rich, which could be injectors or turbo trouble. But the number I really wanted, the one that tells the real story, is blow-by. We hooked up our diagnostic gear and measured crankcase pressure. Blow-by is combustion gases sneaking past the piston rings into the crankcase. A little bit is normal on a high-hour engine. Too much means the rings are shot, the cylinders are glazed, or something worse. If that number is high, you're looking at a rebuild. A full overhaul on a C18 Cat engine, the kind in a D9, can run you deep into six figures depending on how far you have to go. While we were at it, we pulled oil samples from the engine, the transmission, the final drives. Those samples went off to the lab and then we waited. Because metal in your oil tells a story. Copper means bushing wear, iron means gear wear or cylinder wear, chromium means piston ring wear, and if you find actual chunks, real pieces of metal, that transmission or final drive is living on borrowed time. A D9 transmission is complicated stuff. Replacing or rebuilding one is another 5-figure hit that can push towards 6 figures if it is really bad. We checked the hydraulics too, because on a D9, everything runs on hydraulic power. The blade, the ripper, the steering. We tested pressures at the pumps and at the cylinders. We looked for leaks, worn hoses, pump wear. If the hydraulics are weak, if the pressures are low, you lose productivity. You cannot push, pry, and rip like you need to. And if the pumps are going out, that is another expensive repair waiting to happen. Let me give you some real numbers so you understand what we're dealing with. I found a 1995 Cat D9 with 21,000 hours listed for $111,000. That same machine at auction might go for more depending on the market and who's bidding. But $1 million is a whole different ballgame. That puts you in D9R territory, maybe even D9T territory. That means lower hours, better undercarriage, maybe even recent rebuilds with paperwork. I saw a 2003 D9R with 32,000 hours listed for about $175,000 in Mexico. So when you talk $1 million, you're talking about something special. Or you're talking about someone who seriously overpaid. So what does $1 million actually get you in the used D9 market? It gets you a machine maybe 10 to 15 years old instead of 25. It gets you undercarriage at 70 or 80% remaining instead of 50. It gets you an engine that has been rebuilt recently with records to prove it. It gets you a transmission that shifts smooth and final drives that run quiet. It gets you a machine that can go to work tomorrow and keep working for years without needing major money dumped into it. That's the hope anyway. But here's the thing about used heavy equipment that nobody talks about enough. The purchase price is just the beginning. The real cost of the machine is what you paid plus every dollar you put into it while you own it. Fuel alone on a D9 adds up fast. You burn through gallons every hour, and fuel prices are whatever they are that week. Some estimates put D9 fuel consumption around 18 liters per hour, and that adds up quick when you run multiple shifts. Operator costs add up too. A good operator who knows how to treat a D9 is expensive, but a bad operator who beats on it will cost you 10 times more in repairs. You also have to set money aside for maintenance. You have to bank cash every hour that machine runs, so when the undercarriage wears out, when the engine needs love, when the transmission acts up, you have the money to fix it. Cat even offers financing on undercarriage, 0% for 24 months in some places, which tells you how much they want you buying genuine parts. But that financing is still money you have to pay back. Let me walk you through what can go wrong. Undercarriage parts on a D9 typically last somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 hours before they need attention. That changes a lot based on ground conditions and who is running it, but those are the rough numbers. If you buy a machine with undercarriage already at 70% worn, you might have 1,500 hours left before a major service. 1,500 hours sounds decent until you realize a machine working full-time can eat that up in just a few months. And when that time comes, you are looking at 40 hours of labor at $100 to $150 an hour, plus all those parts. That is 4,000 to 6,000 just in labor, plus 20,000 to 30,000 for tracks, plus rollers and idlers and everything else. And nobody ever talks about downtime until it happens to them. 1 week of downtime on a machine that should be working can cost you up to $70,000 in lost productivity. That is revenue gone, progress stopped, contracts in jeopardy. That is angry phone calls from clients asking why their dirt is not moving. I have to be honest with you about something. The machine I bought, the one I dropped $1 million on, I have not actually put my hands on it yet. That is the crazy part about these auctions sometimes. You bid based on photos and videos and a report from somebody you do not know. You trust that the seller is straight with you, that the inspector knew what they were doing, that the machine sitting in some lot 1,000 miles away is exactly what they claim. And you don't find out the truth until that lowboy shows up at your gate and you start your own inspection. So here I am, waiting for that truck to pull in, waiting to find out if I made a genius move or a colossal mistake, waiting to see if this D9 is a legend or a lemon. The oil samples are at the lab. The inspection crew is ready. In a few days, I'm going to know what I actually bought. Here's what I've learned doing this long enough to have some scars. The people who make money buying used iron, who actually turn a profit, they are not gamblers, they are detectives. They do the homework, they run the numbers, they think about the worst possible outcome and ask if they can survive it. They know the auction price is just the first chapter. The real story comes from the inspection data, the oil samples, the measurements. That is where you find out if you bought a worker or a wallet drainer. That is where the $1 million bet pays off or falls apart. So, was it a mistake? Ask me again in a week after we finish digging through this machine. Ask me after we pressure test every line and bore scope every cylinder. Ask me after the lab reports come back clean or full of metal. Ask me after we fire this thing up and put it to work and see if it runs like $1 million machine or like $100,000 machine wearing $1 million price tag. Until then, I'm just standing here staring at 100 tons of steel, hoping I called it right. And if you're thinking about jumping into this game, about bidding serious money on used iron, just remember, that machine is not your friend. It's a complicated piece of equipment with 1,000 moving parts, and every single one of them is trying to wear out. Your whole job is figuring out which ones already have.